All right, so here's a quick rundown of the test review and how this is going to go. On the top, it's talking about solve by substitution, elimination. Typically, elimination is going to be your best choice. On this one, if I multiply by a -2, then those 12s will cancel out. That's a -10y plus 7y, which makes minus 3y, and a -10 plus 7, which makes a -3, which means y is 1. If y is 1, then that's 7 times 1 makes 7, so 0 divided by -12 is 0, the x is equal to 0, so the answer to this one is 0, 1. That's pretty much how all of these are going to shake down. If you get stuck on one, go ahead and use the calculator. You'll have the calculator tomorrow. It's just sometimes if you look at it like this, you can work it a little bit faster and you can at least check over your answers. Now, given the fact that this is a multiple choice test, if you run out of all of the other options, then look at the answers and put them into the equations and see if they work in both equations, because it has to work in both equations to be a correct answer. On number 6, it's important to figure out what you're going to have for your key equation because it's 3. So if I combine these first two, that's 6x plus z is equal to a -11 because the y's would cancel out. If I combine the second and third equations, 4x minus 3x is a single x, y minus y is nothing, and 2z makes 4z, and that's equal to 5 minus 3 is 2. I can easily then multiply this one by a -6. That's a -24 plus 1, which is a -23z. A -6 times 2 is a -12, and a -11, that makes a -23. So z is going to be equal to 1. If z is 1, then x is going to be equal to a -2 when I sub it back into one of these two. Don't go all the way back to the beginning until you have 2 of them. And then if I put these in here, it's a -4, and then a 1 here. So that'd be -5 out of the -8. So the y is going to be a -3. Remember to put them in the correct order. It's -2, -3, 1. Remember when you're solving those, using the matrix is a little bit more reliable if you're using the calculator like that. Again, down on here on the bottom, solve using any method. You can use matrices. Organize them correctly. It's -2, -5, -1, -1, 3, -5, 2, -4, -6. You would enclose that in a 3 by 3 matrix, raise it to the -first power, and then you would multiply by what it is on the other side of the equal sign, which would be 1, -6, and 24, and that would give you your answer. Remember, if you get a singular matrix on any one of these, that either means it's all real solutions, or there's an infinite number of solutions, or there's no solutions. So be able to solve down at least a little bit on those to figure out which one it's going to be. If it's parallel lines, essentially, when you reduce it down, then it's going to be no solution. If it's the exact same line between two of them when you reduce it down, then that's going to be an infinite number of solutions. So that's kind of 9, 10, 11, 12 there. On the next page, talking about word problems. The sum of 3 numbers, I always make those 3 numbers x, y, and z. The sum of 3 numbers is 6. X plus y plus z equals 6. The third number is the sum of the first and second. Third number is z, sum of the first and second, x and y. The first number is 1 more than the third number. X is equal to z plus 1. Find the numbers. Again, you'd be able to sub this value in for x, and then between z and y, you'd be able to find out an answer there once you put all 3 of those equations together. Same thing with number 22. With number 23, there's 3 equations there. If it's a 9-pound mixture, then it's peanuts plus cashews plus raisins is equal to 9 pounds. And then your cost equation, which is $1.50 for peanuts, plus $2 per pound for the cashews, plus $1 per pound for raisins, and it says the total cost of the mixture, which is 9 pounds, is $13, so that's just 13. And then twice as many peanuts as cashews, that would be peanuts is equal to 2 times the number of cashews. So once you get that set up, solving it's the easy part. You go back, you substitute in, or you go back and you make a matrix out of it by subtracting and getting stuff to the other side. On number 24, number 25, it's inequalities. If y is greater than or equal to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I go across like here, it's a solid line, and I'd be shading up on that part. If 2x minus y is less than or equal to 2, my y-intercept, 2 divided by 2 is 1. That's my x-intercept is a positive 1. My y-intercept would be a negative 2. Yeah. And it's going to go kind of like that. And then I would shade, in this case, when I move the x over, it would be negative. And then we divide by a negative, we flip the sign, we would shade above it. So this area where it's double shaded would be the correct answer on that one. Okay, just make sure you either know how to enter those in on the calculator or how to look quickly and be able to tell. Again, if you get stuck on a problem like this, then find an answer, probably one like here, 0, 0. See if it works in both of them. If it's not, then you know that is not the correct region. So you move on. You should be able to check the answers pretty effectively on that. Same thing with 25. On 26, the vertices, again, you have to graph them. Or you, with this one being like y is this, x is this, you could sub those into this equation and be able to find those. And if x is less than or equal to 4 and y is less than or equal to 9, then 4, 9 is going to be one of my intersections. Very simply. This one is a system of inequalities. 27 is the linear programming. So it has you do the vertices. And once you get the vertices, you're supposed to put that into this equation to help you find the maximum and minimum values. Okay, this f of x comma y, that's my last equation where I would quote unquote check the profits if it's like those word problems that we have before. On the next page, the vertices of the polygon. One of these is unbounded. I think it's number 5, so be careful on that one. Write the system as an augmented matrix, don't solve. That just means put these in order, switch it around to where you have the x's, the y's, the z's on the same side of the equal sign. Not a big deal on 6, kind of a bigger deal on 7, because the y's over here. You need your x, y, and z on one side, you need your answer on another. So you could, in theory, either move the y over here and move your number over to the other side for this one, or you could move your x and z over to that side, keep the y where it is, and leave the 10. It's entirely up to you. It should just change the signs. It shouldn't make that big of a difference. But you have to understand that depending on how you do that, you could have 2, -1, -3, and have it be equal to -10. And that be one acceptable way of writing that first one if you move the y over and move the 10 over. Or it could be a -2, a +1, a +3, and a +10. It's all about how you move the stuff. These are not different, okay? And again, like it's going to be, you're looking at multiple choice answers, so see which one matches up. On this one, this is the Gaussian, and this is probably the only thing that's Gaussian that'll be on here is something like this is, you know, which 2 rows could we add together to zero out the y values? These are the y values. So the first and third row. Okay, 1, row 1, and row 3. A -5 and a +5 would make 0. Which 2 rows could we add to zero out the z values? That'd be row 1 and row 2. The 5 and the -5 would make it to where there's nothing there. What row operations would you need to zero out the x value in row 2? There's a couple different ways. You could either multiply the second row by a -1 and add it back to the first, or you could multiply row 1 by a -1 and add it back here to the second. So there, again, there's a couple of different ways. It's just how do you want to do it? Solve the system using Gaussian elimination. You don't actually have to do that. You can cross out the Gaussian elimination, just solve the system. But really, if you've done most of the work on the other ones to zero this stuff out, you should be able to go that last step, divide it, and figure it out. On the vocab, bounded region means we're shading, and it's closed in on all sides. A system of equations is more than one equations. The matrix is the closed in, the way of organizing stuff. The variable matrix is the one that we had that we kind of skipped over, that's like the X, Y, Z. The augmented matrix is what we had when we were shifting the numbers around. Gaussian elimination, you know what that is. It was super fun. The minimum and the maximum and the optimize all relate to that linear programming. So the minimum value would be the vertex that comes up with the lowest value from the equation that we had. The maximum value would have the highest value from that profit equation that we had. And to optimize is to be able to find that minimum and maximum. The unbounded region is when we have those ones that are shaded, that's like it has a line here, a line here, a line here, but there's no top on this one, so it goes forever in that direction. A function is just like a y equals or f of x. The coefficient matrix is what we're used to. It's the ones in the numbers that are in front of the letters. The constant matrix is what I've been calling the answer matrix. It's what's on the right-hand side of the equal sign when you get them all set together. Reduced row echelon form is that identity matrix, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1 that we're trying to get to in the Gaussian. And the row operations is what are you doing with what row to combine them, put them together. Okay, it's not that big a deal. It just relates to Gaussian elimination. On the very back page, this kind of stuff you can expect on the test. Again, it's multiple choice. You just have to really be able to set up that system to know what they're talking about. If Ronnie's going to save $925 to go to Rome, and it's at least, that means if he has more money than $925, he's going to be great. He earns $9 an hour working at Gambino's, $12 an hour working at a car wash, so that's 9x plus 12y. By law, he can't work more than 25 hours a week, so x plus y is less than or equal to 25. He can only work at the car wash for up to 2 hours a day, so y is less than or equal to 2, and 9x plus 12y. Again, this is per week, so 25 hours a week, we'd have to multiply that by 8 to get the final answer in this one. And then the y is less than or equal to 2. That's 2 hours per day. So that'd be 2 hours times 7 days times 8 weeks. Okay? So keep the numbers, keep the logic, make sure you understand what's going on. And again, there should be answers on the page. Check and see if the answers make sense. It's a multiple choice test. Steve's trying to decide on what to put on his phone. Audiobooks are 3 hours long. Songs are 3.5 minutes. So the 3 hours you probably convert to minutes, something like that. He has $63 to spend. Set the whole thing up as an inequality, graph it, see what's going on. If you get stuck on this stuff, it's a Tuesday tomorrow, so I should be here bright and early and able to answer any of your questions that you have before school or maybe at lunch tutorials if you're fortunate enough to have me in the afternoon.
What lunch?